We have to amputate your legs today. That's what the doctor told me as I lay in a hospital bed. The blinding fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, my nostrils filled with that bleach hospital smell overpowering me in the cramped, chilly room. My wife squeezed my hand, tears streaming down her cheeks. "No," she cried, he can't live the rest of his life in a wheelchair." "Without the amputation," he told me, "you'll be dead within a year." I couldn't believe it. My passion had always been hiking, and my wife and I had dreamed of one day hiking the Appalachian Trail. But 4 years ago, the doctors were going to put me under anesthesia and cut off my legs, leaving nothing but worthless stumps. All because I was one of 115 million Americans with pre-diabetes or diabetes, the disease that ran rampant through my body, thrashing the blood vessels in my limbs until it practically cut off the circulation to my legs. The doctor made it clear that if he didn't amputate, my legs would rot like spoiled meat. So what happened? And why am I telling you this? Well, I'll answer the second question first. My name is David Andrews, and I'm telling you this because I don't want you to go through the same horrifying experience that I did. Now, when all this happened, I didn't know all that much about this debilitating and potentially deadly disease. But now, I've done my homework, and in my research, I've uncovered some eye-opening, even shocking facts. But I've also found hope for folks like me, folks who have diabetes. Now, a lot of folks act like I did when I got diagnosed with diabetes. We let the statistics go in one ear and out the other. But this is important, because every single person represented in these statistics is someone like you and me. A mother, a father, a sister, a brother, a son or a daughter, grandparents, friends, neighbors, co-workers, loved ones, you and me. We don't think we're going to become a statistic, but that's what this horrible disease does to folks like us. Like the stat I was being faced with that day at the hospital. Did you know that every day over 200 people with diabetes have a limb amputated? That's over 70,000 per year. And even more distressing, 1 in 4 didn't know that they had diabetes until it was too late. But worst of all, amputation, well, it isn't even the most dangerous part of uncontrolled blood sugar. You may or may not know that diabetes also leads to Alzheimer's, dementia, heart failure, and cancer. You see, when you have excess glucose, your blood becomes a nutrition-packed smoothie for cancer tumors. It helps them grow at deadly speeds. That's why the Harvard Medical School Cancer Center has warned that up to 80% of all cancer is at least partially caused by imbalanced blood glucose and insulin. Oh, but it doesn't end there. A study published in the medical journal Neurology found that diabetes almost doubled the risk of dementia. Your glucose-packed blood constantly rushes through your brain, adding to the buildup that causes Alzheimer's and other types of dementia. Now, when I read that, I had trouble not imagining it happening inside my own brain. As I kept reading about my disease, it only got worse. One study showed that if you've got diabetes, your risk of heart attack is 11 times higher than the average person. Now, at my age, I already had to worry about heart attacks, and it was terrifying to learn that my risk was so much higher than I thought. Another study found that diabetes increases your risk of having a stroke by 150%, and during a stroke, diabetes makes it even harder for blood to get to your brain. For most people, a stroke has about a 17% chance of being fatal, but if you're diabetic, a stroke is almost a 100% death sentence. I knew type 2 diabetes was bad, but it wasn't until I found these stats that I realized just how deadly of a situation I was in. So if high blood sugar and type 2 diabetes are so deadly, why do most doctors prescribe treatments that only manage the symptoms while ignoring the root cause? Especially when new research has revealed the real cause of diabetes and provided a simple solution to jumpstart your body's blood glucose regulation system. The short answer is that in the last few years, 11 pharmaceutical giants have been caught bribing hospitals and doctors to prescribe their medicine, regardless of the best treatment. But I'll share those details with you in just a second. First, I want to tell you the story of my own diabetes battle and tell you the story of how Dr. Roy Taylor solved that decades-old medical mystery and changed diabetes treatment as we know it forever. and how you can use his scientific discoveries to restore your healthy blood sugar and even reverse your type 2 diabetes. This new solution works by jump-starting your pancreas, the part of your body that keeps your blood sugar levels healthy, keeping away insulin resistance. With this pancreas jump-start solution that I'm about to show you, you'll be able to reverse your type 2 diabetes, sharply reducing or even eliminating your need for medication. When you watch this video to the very end, I'm also going to show you the easiest, most relaxing trick I use to instantly lower my blood sugar after I enjoy something sweet. Because I'm a sucker for a can of Coke or a bowl of vanilla ice cream and apple pie. It isn't some gimmick you see on the internet, like drinking gallons of water or soaking your food in vinegar. It's just cold, hard facts discovered by medical researchers to keep your blood sugar down for up to 24 hours. Because when you jumpstart your pancreas, you'll be able to do it without losing your favorite foods, without getting drenched in sweat and gasping for breath from exhausting workouts, and without needing impossible levels of self-control. But I'll warn you, the $245 billion pharmaceutical industry is making a fortune with their insanely priced insulin shots and oral medications, which come packed with painful side effects and only help manage the symptoms of your diabetes, leaving you on diabetes life support until you die. You should know that in late 2014, the federal government slapped diabetes medication manufacturer Sanofi with fraud charges for bribing hospitals and doctors millions of dollars to push their medication on innocent people with diabetes like you and me. And they're just one of over 40 pharmaceutical companies who have faced similar fraud charges in the last 10 years. Once the word spreads about jump-starting your pancreas to reverse type 2 diabetes, Big Pharma is going to be out billions of dollars. So you can imagine the fraudster CEOs aren't happy that you're watching this. Because once you know these secrets, you're only weeks away from reversing your type 2 diabetes or pre-diabetes, and for some people, it's as quick as 11 days. It doesn't matter if you've had your disease for decades. It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter if your blood sugar levels are sky high. Just imagine, once you discover how to jumpstart your pancreas, which I'll show you in this presentation, you'll be free from annoying insulin shots and painful finger pricks. You'll say goodbye to medicines that make you fat and nauseous. You'll stop worrying about early death, amputations, and risky surgeries. Your painful, tingling neuropathy in your feet, your hands, and everywhere else in your body will just fade away. You'll remove the stress of wondering when your vision will completely fail, leaving you blind for the rest of your life. You'll break free from the anxiety of constantly monitoring your blood sugar, watching jealously as other people eat your favorite foods. Oh, and you'll never again feel like a burden on your family and friends. Just like Andrew from Battleground, Washington, who said, "Your presentation showed me the simple solution to my diabetes, and you had the science to back it up. My doctor was shocked when I told him that I hadn't needed an insulin shot for weeks. He had to test my blood sugar himself to believe it. I reversed my diabetes in just 17 days. And there's Doug from Salt Lake City, Utah, who said, "Just the thought of vacation or even a day on the town made me feel exhausted. Diabetes made me feel like a prisoner in my own life. I'm so glad that I found this scientifically proven way to reverse my type 2 diabetes. Everybody with type 2 diabetes needs to watch this video right now so they can reverse their diabetes in just a few weeks." Listen, it's not your fault you have this disease, and it's not an issue of being skinny or fat. Once you know the real cause of type 2 diabetes, you'll sharply reduce or even eliminate your need for medication, which you can imagine will put a dent in the fraudulent profits of those 11 pharmaceutical companies. So turn off your cell phone, grab a pen and paper. You're about to discover how to destroy your type 2 diabetes. First, let me introduce myself. My name is David Andrews. I'm 51. I have a wife and 2 children, and I'm the head chef at a 5-star restaurant near Washington, D.C. Now, I'm going to share my story with you, and honestly, it's a little embarrassing, but it's worth it if it'll help you get free from your disease. A few years ago, I almost lost everything. I'd been suffering from type 2 diabetes for over a decade. I always had to worry about what foods would send my blood sugar off the charts. Heck, I became a chef because I loved food, and now I was stuck eating bland, boring meals. I was a burden on my family, and I was terrified my kids would end up with my disease. Every single day, I had to prick my finger to test my blood sugar, then give myself painful insulin shots. I was spending about $2,000 per month on insulin. I tried the other diabetes medications that my doctor recommended, like metformin, Actos, or Amaryl. That was a disaster because I emptied my bank account and just about killed myself taking them. Metformin and Actos made me feel nauseous all the time, and Amaryl just made me fat. Plus, a study in the New England Journal of Medicine linked several diabetes medicines to a 64% higher risk of heart attack or cardiovascular death. Even when I spent a week at the beach with my family, I couldn't relax. I was always worrying about my blood sugar and whether I could get back to the cooler if I needed my insulin. My type 2 diabetes was emptying my wallet, destroying my body, and just making my life miserable. I felt trapped. You've probably felt that way before, haven't you? Terrified that your diabetes is going to make your life worse and worse until it finally decides to kill you? But for me, it was about to get even worse. I'll never forget that day in my restaurant's kitchen. I was understaffed on a Saturday evening, the busiest shift of the week. My stress was through the roof, my heart was pounding, and the kitchen, it felt hotter and more humid than ever. I received an order for a medium rare steak, and then my knees went weak. The next thing I knew, I woke up in the hospital, seeing my wife and 2 teenage kids sitting around me, their eyes red and puffy from crying. The room, it smelled like cleaning liquid, and I heard the steady beeping of the heart monitor. When my wife saw I was awake, she threw her arms around me and then called for the doctor. My son and daughter looked at me like they were watching their daddy die. And I guess they were. The doctor came in and explained what happened. "You went into a diabetic coma," he said. "A non-ketotic hyperglycemic hypersmolar coma. Your blood glucose level was at 1174. One of the other chefs had called 911, and some quick-thinking paramedics and ER doctors had saved my life. If I'd been alone when it happened, I'd be dead." The doctor cleared his throat like he was nervous about telling me something even worse. "Because your diabetes is so advanced," he said, "we'll need to remove your legs. I've scheduled the surgery for this afternoon. It's every diabetic's worst fear. Amputation." "No," said my wife, "absolutely not." "I'm sorry," the doctor insisted. "We can give him another 10 years to live, but we have to operate immediately." My daughter started to cry. While my wife argued with the doctor, I got lost in my thoughts. Amputation, and only 10 years to live. I didn't believe it. The doctor had to be wrong. How was I going to support my family? I couldn't run a restaurant kitchen from a wheelchair. I'd spend my last years crippled and useless. The future felt like a dark, terrifying path that I didn't want to go through. I didn't know it yet, but if it wasn't for the fraudsters at these 11 pharmaceutical companies bribing doctors to prescribe their drugs, then I might have already heard about this natural method to reverse my disease. It was like they had ripped away my golden years of retirement, robbed me of my chance to meet my grandchildren, and destroyed the life I'd worked so hard to build. But I'll get to that in just a second. Now, all the time I was thinking this, my wife was arguing with the doctor. And trust me, when my wife gets upset, she tends to get what she wants. When I started listening again, she was telling the doctor, "There is no way you're cutting off his legs today. The longest we can wait is 90 days, said the doctor. "If we wait any longer, it'll be too dangerous." My wife gave a short little nod like she'd won, but the tears glistening in her eyes told me she was heartbroken. The next week was the worst week of my life. I sat at home on my couch, scared and depressed. My family treated me like I was already dead. My daughter said, "I love you, Daddy," every time she walked by, and my son got mad and wouldn't talk to me. He didn't understand why I couldn't be around forever. I was ready to give up. But then a Facebook post saved me. My friend shared an article about a rogue diabetes researcher named Roy Taylor. He's a medical doctor and professor of medicine and metabolism at Newcastle University. If you haven't heard of Newcastle University, it's in England, and it's one of the most respected universities in the world, right up there with Harvard or Oxford. Other universities look to Newcastle as a pioneer in health research. Its professors and alumni have received numerous awards and medals for their achievements in science and medicine. And more importantly, they've saved millions of lives by curing and preventing diseases. And Dr. Taylor fits right in. His research has been published in dozens of medical journals, changing the way we see diabetes. Yale University even tried to hire him, but he felt loyal to Newcastle. A few years ago, Dr. Taylor faced his biggest challenge yet, a medical mystery that had gone unsolved since 1954. When type 2 diabetics have gastric bypass surgery, their diabetes disappears almost overnight. This happens all over the world, and it's been happening for decades. The thing is, gastric bypass surgery is an operation on the stomach. It doesn't have anything to do with blood sugar or diabetes. And yet almost every single patient has their blood sugar and insulin levels return to normal, reversing their type 2 diabetes and reducing or even eliminating their need for medication. But for years, no one knew why. Something was reversing their type 2 diabetes, and Dr. Taylor set out to figure out what. Now, we already knew that type 2 diabetics have fat deposits around their pancreas, but for years, researchers thought they were an effect of the disease. Here's what Dr. Taylor discovered. These fat deposits are the primary cause of the disease. You see, the pancreas produces insulin, the hormone that helps your body absorb blood sugar. That means the pancreas is the organ responsible for keeping your blood glucose levels normal. It's a precise job. Not enough insulin, and your blood sugar will skyrocket. So when fat deposits form around the pancreas, it throws everything out of whack. That fat squeezes and invades the pancreas, preventing it from producing enough insulin and increasing your body's insulin resistance. That means your bloodstream gets less insulin, and the insulin that's actually there can barely do its job of helping your body absorb blood sugar. Your blood glucose levels stay dangerously high, and you develop type 2 diabetes. Dr. Taylor realized that for the gastric bypass patients, their type 2 diabetes disappeared because the fat deposits around their pancreas disappeared. So you get rid of the fat deposits, and you get rid of type 2 diabetes. Now remember, the surgery doesn't touch these fat deposits, so the mystery continued. What was dissolving these fat deposits? Finally, in early 2012, Dr. Taylor discovered the answer. Everyone that goes through gastric bypass surgery is given a temporary meal plan to follow. This meal plan has the exact fats, sugars, carbs, and essential vitamins and minerals to attack and destroy those fat deposits around the pancreas. Getting rid of them so quickly was like giving a jump start to the pancreas. With the fat deposits gone, the pancreas kicked back into gear, regulating blood glucose by producing the right amount of insulin and lowering insulin resistance. So by the end of this meal plan, virtually every single person reduced or eliminated their need for diabetes medication. Dr. Taylor was thrilled. He had discovered the real cause of type 2 diabetes, and he discovered the solution that had been right under everyone's noses for decades. Oh, and since Dr. Taylor works at one of the top diabetes research universities in the world, he didn't have to try to convince people that he was right. He could prove it. He designed a temporary meal plan to jumpstart the pancreas based on the one used by the gastric bypass patients. Then he ran a medical study at Newcastle University, which in 2013 was published in the medical journal Diabetologia. He gave his meal plan to people with type 2 diabetes from all walks of life: men, women, young, old, the newly diagnosed, and people who'd had the disease for decades. The results were amazing. Every single person who completed the study saw the fat deposits around their pancreas disappear, their blood sugar normalize, and their type 2 diabetes reversed. They were all able to stop taking their medication. I'll say that again. All of the participants, 100%. Now remember, these results were peer-reviewed in the medical journal Diabetologia, which means other researchers tested them for accuracy with the utmost scrutiny. Now, when I read how successful this was, I was both excited and furious. Excited because now I had hope for the future, and furious because Dr. Taylor published his study several years ago. Why wasn't it the first thing my doctor told me when I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes? What he should have said was, "You have this disease, now let's get rid of it." Instead, what they actually said was, "You have this disease, let's put a Band-Aid on the symptoms." Because that's what diabetes medication and insulin shots are. They're just Band-Aid fixes that only treat the symptoms, when the root cause of your disease is the fat deposits around your pancreas. Now, I wasn't just complaining. I really wanted to know why I'd never heard about this. I've gone to the same doctor for 20 years. I trust him. If he knew there was a solution, he would have told me. What I discovered next made my blood boil. The federal government recently charged the diabetes medication manufacturer Sanofi with fraud. Big Pharma has been bribing doctors and hospitals to prescribe their diabetes medication. It's a French company called Sanofi, and they've been charged with bribing hospitals and doctors in the U.S. to prescribe Sanofi diabetes medication. Now, I'm talking tens of millions of dollars, and that's not even the worst of it. In just the last 10 years, 11 of the top 25 pharmaceutical companies have faced similar bribery charges, and 24 of the top 25 companies have faced other fraud charges, including covering up dangerous side effects, lying about success rates, and illegally inflating prices. In fact, look at this list of pharmaceutical companies who have faced fraud charges. Last year, in the U.S. alone, pharmaceutical companies paid $3.75 billion in penalties for fraud. That's more than the previous 8 years combined. The problem is only getting worse. So it's no wonder the word about this natural treatment hadn't got out. Pharmacy giants like Sanofi are bribing doctors to prescribe their drugs instead. Obviously, they couldn't have bribed every single doctor, but they don't have to. Just bribing a few is enough to stop the news of this discovery from spreading. So I knew if I wanted to reverse my diabetes, I was on my own. I recreated the method that Dr. Taylor used, and since I'm a chef, I kept all the vital aspects of his meal plan and added my own flair to make it delicious. I tried it out, and it worked. After just 3 weeks, my blood glucose levels were normal, and I didn't need insulin injections. But even after that, I knew I wasn't done. You see, for half of the participants in Dr. Taylor's study, the fat deposits reformed around their pancreas and their disease came back. You see, I wanted my type 2 diabetes gone for good. So I had to figure out what exactly kept the other 50% of participants diabetes-free. Here's what I discovered. If you boost your metabolism, then your disease can't come back. Now, there's a million ways to boost your metabolism, but I needed methods that worked especially well for ex-diabetics. So I set a few requirements. First, I had to be able to do these metabolism-boosting tricks in less than 5 minutes. Second, I wasn't interested in running marathons or any other ridiculous cardio. Third, I wanted to do it from the comfort of my home. I found 7 metabolism-boosting tricks that fit all 3 of these requirements and are especially effective for diabetics and ex-diabetics. I started using these 7 tricks, and soon I went long past the 3-month mark without needing any medication. And as an added bonus, I also lost 19 pounds. Things were really looking up, but it almost didn't last. I kept having days when I almost needed an injection. I felt like I was walking a tightrope. My type 2 diabetes was gone, but it was still peeking through the window trying to get back in. I couldn't figure out why. Finally, one day I got lucky. I slept in and threw off my whole schedule. I ate breakfast and lunch at different times than normal. As I checked my blood sugar throughout the day, it was completely normal, nowhere near the line. I stuck to that same pattern all week, and for the first time in years, my blood glucose levels were 100% healthy. So you see, it's not just what you eat, it's when you eat. Regulating your blood sugar is about timing. Now, once I realized this, I read every study I could find and tested different timings on myself. Finally, I found the perfect schedule. I figured out when to eat which foods. And the best part is, this is a temporary program, just like the meal plan. Once you reverse your type 2 diabetes, you're done. Can you imagine how excited I was? With this latest discovery, I actually reversed my type 2 diabetes. I told my wife, and she wept for joy. Then came the day that I'd been dreading, my next appointment with my doctor. He wanted to check how I was doing and schedule the surgery to amputate my legs. I went to the hospital, they did their tests, and then I waited in the exam room. First, the doctor stuck his head in. There's something wrong with the tests, we're running them again. So I waited even longer. Finally, he came back. What did you do? He asked, looking at his clipboard. For a second, I kind of thought he was mad at me. What did you change? He asked again. A new diet? I told him about jump-starting my pancreas. Well, said the doctor, that just saved your legs and your life. We don't need to amputate. And as healthy as these tests look, you could live to be 100. 6 weeks ago, you had about the worst case of type 2 diabetes I have ever seen. And now it's like you never had it at all. It's a miracle. I want you to imagine what it felt like to hear the doctor say, your diabetes has disappeared. Suddenly, I had my whole life ahead of me. I would never have to stick myself with painful insulin needles. I'd never have to feel like a burden to my family and friends. I could go hiking or to the beach or on any vacation with my family and not worry about how tired I'd get or what food I could eat. I was finally free. That evening over a scrumptious dinner, I told my wife everything. We have to share your secret, she said. Now, I don't know what I was thinking, but I was hopeful the pharmaceutical companies would want to hear me out. I called and I wrote letters, but it was no use. Of course they didn't care. They make over $245 billion on diabetes every year, and they know exactly how much each one of their customers is worth. $4,174 a year more than the average non-diabetic customer. That's $83,500 more over their lifetime. But they only get that money if they keep you managing the symptoms of your disease instead of fixing the cause. I was mad as hell. If I wanted to get the word out, it would be up to me. My wife and I decided to form a group of people who know the truth about the real cause of type 2 diabetes and the secret to jump-starting your pancreas so you can throw away your medication. We started with friends, family, neighbors, anyone we knew who suffered from type 2 diabetes or pre-diabetes. We shared my story and invited them to try what I'd learned for themselves. I couldn't believe the results. Everyone who completed these 3 steps reversed their type 2 diabetes. Oh man, they couldn't thank us enough. Once we saw how much this helped people, we knew we had to go bigger and show the whole world about jump-starting your pancreas. So I gathered together everything I'd found, all the studies from Dr. Taylor's research that show the real reason behind type 2 diabetes, the temporary meal plan that reverses type 2 diabetes in less than 8 weeks, the 7 metabolism-boosting tricks for diabetics to make sure your type 2 diabetes stays gone, and the meal timing strategies to keep your blood sugar under control. And with my wife's help, I combined all this life-saving research into one simple guide. The night that we finished, we were sitting at my kitchen table. We just shared a hearty meal, something we'd never be able to do if I hadn't reversed my diabetes. I told my wife, this is it, the answer for everyone with type 2 diabetes. It's their key to freedom. We could both feel how big this was. We knew there'd be people who would want to shut us down, but we were determined to share the truth. We called it the Type 2 Diabetes Destroyer, and we started sharing it over the internet. Soon, people all over the world were using the methods in this system that I developed, and it was working. This simple system was saving lives and giving people hope and optimism about the future, their future. Now, if you've watched this far, then I think you're ready to be part of this exclusive group of people. I want you to have your very own copy of the system. I want you to be one of the few who knows how to destroy your type 2 diabetes. So first, let me show you what's inside. We divided the system into 4 modules, an introduction to the truth about diabetes, and then the 3 steps that will jumpstart your pancreas, reverse your disease, and let you sharply reduce or eliminate your medication forever. Let me take a second to show you what's inside each module. Module 1 is called What Your Doctor Doesn't Know About Your Type 2 Diabetes and Pre-Diabetes. In this section, you'll find out the scientific details about the real cause behind your type 2 diabetes and how easy it is to fix it. You'll learn the 2 glucose glitches causing your blood sugar levels to go crazy, and you'll get the truth about how to switch them off. You'll get the video course, Insulin Sensitivity, the shortcut to weight loss. This shows you exactly how eliminating your insulin resistance will melt away that extra fat. You'll get an insider's report on what recent research shows about actually reversing your type 2 diabetes and not just managing the symptoms. Once you understand how diabetes isn't your fault and you see what's really causing it, you'll be ready to move on and start dealing with the problem. You'll be ready for Module 2, the Pancreas Jumpstart Temporary Meal Plan. Now, in this module, I'll walk you through a temporary meal plan that fills your body with the exact nutrients that you need to jumpstart your pancreas and say goodbye to your type 2 diabetes. You'll get step-by-step instructions on how to use this temporary meal plan to effortlessly kickstart your type 2 diabetes reversal. If you can say no to pizza and donuts for a few days, you can do this. Plus, you'll be able to throw away your overpriced drugs or insulin shots because you'll reteach your body to regulate blood sugar on its own. And just to make sure you're still enjoying yourself, I'm including the video recipe guide, 3 diabetic-friendly desserts. Once you've given your disease the boot, you need to make sure it stays gone. That's why next up is Module 3, the natural trick to amp up your metabolism. Now, like I mentioned, when you increase your metabolism, you lock the door on your disease, keeping it away forever. So in this module, you'll learn my favorite 30-second workout to keep your metabolism burning strong all day long. Plus, you'll find out the 3 metabolism-boosting berries. You just add a handful to your meals and your metabolism will kick into overdrive. Best of all, while these tricks are increasing your insulin absorption rate, they're also melting away fat and gives you more energy and lowers your risk of heart disease. These metabolism-boosting tricks alone could change your life. But I'm giving you more than that, because you don't just want to say goodbye to diabetes. You want to say goodbye now, and you want to say goodbye forever. Here's the key. It's not just about what you eat, it's about when you eat it. So your last step is Module 4, time your meals to finish off your diabetes. In this module, I'll show you the precise schedule of when to eat which foods to keep your blood sugar as regular as clockwork. I'll show you the breakfast secret, the one key element that should be part of your breakfast every day that tastes great and sets you up to keep your blood sugar balanced all day long. You'll find out the exact number of hours you should wait between meals, and you'll discover my favorite type 2 diabetes destroying snacks for when you need something to hold you over. And you'll get the video guide, Meal Timing for Weight Loss, so while your type 2 diabetes is disappearing, you can also effortlessly melt away the pounds. Plus, have you ever wondered how close to bedtime that it's okay to eat? Is it 30 minutes? Is it 2 hours? You get it wrong, and you could wake up with out-of-control blood sugar. But get it right, and you won't have to think twice about your diabetes all day long. In this module, you'll find out exactly how long before bed to stop eating. With this type 2 diabetes destroyer, you can say goodbye to a life full of frustration and fear and start enjoying freedom from diabetes. Now, you might be wondering, how fast can you expect to see results? Well, in Dr. Taylor's main study, they tested people at 4 weeks and then at 8 weeks. By 4 weeks, about half the participants had normal blood glucose levels, and by 8 weeks, all of the participants had reversed their type 2 diabetes. The fastest it's happened was 11 days. So if you start using the type 2 diabetes destroyer today, you could be diabetes-free in less than 2 weeks. You'll start off using the delicious temporary meal plan. A lot of people say they have more energy on the very first day. You'll wake up feeling more refreshed and well-rested than you have in years. This week, as you test your blood glucose levels, you'll notice that number getting closer and closer to where it should be. A week from today, you'll realize you've needed fewer insulin injections. Now, as you start into your second week with this program, you'll discover that it feels like there are more hours in the day and you're getting more done. The truth is, you're so used to being exhausted all the time that suddenly having energy feels fantastic. If you suffer from painful, tingling neuropathy, you should notice that's starting to disappear around the end of the second week. Over the next couple of weeks, as you finish the temporary meal plan and use the other modules of the program, your pancreas will kick back into gear and your body will remember how to absorb insulin. Your blood glucose will stay at a healthy, normal level. You'll be able to stop taking insulin injections. You'll be able to talk to your doctor and see the surprised look on his face, just like I saw on my doctor's face when he saw my type 2 diabetes was gone. If you start today, then less than 1 month from today, you'll be free to enjoy life and never again worry about diabetes-related early death or amputation. Now, if that sounds as amazing to you as it has to thousands of other people, then don't hesitate to grab your copy of the Type 2 Diabetes Destroyer and start your journey to freedom today. Now, to be clear, I don't recommend anyone just stop taking their medication cold turkey. Instead, it's best to naturally jumpstart your pancreas, naturally lowering your blood sugar until your doctor is glad to cancel your prescriptions. I'm not against all medications. For some diseases, medications are the only known path to healing. But type 2 diabetes is not one of those diseases. Your medication only helps with the symptoms, and once you jumpstart your pancreas to fix the real cause of your disease, well, you won't have symptoms anymore, and you can work with your doctor to say goodbye to annoying, expensive diabetes medicines forever. You know, I'd love to give this away free, like I did to the first few friends I helped. I'd love to help every single person who's found themselves trapped in the shackles of type 2 diabetes suddenly jumpstart their pancreas and have their diabetes reversed. And if I had all the money in the world to fund this myself, well, I would. But the reality is, we're up against some pretty big forces here. I told you the big pharmaceutical companies make $245 billion a year on treating diabetes. They have all the money they need to practically bury anything that we do to share this message with the world. So I need your help in the form of giving me a fair price for this system that could radically change your life for the better. It offsets some of our web development expense and other costs of bringing this to you. And it's certainly a fair price compared to even the monthly cost of insulin and meds so many of us have to pay. Just $37 today, and I'll share it with you. This would also enable me to continue sharing this important message with folks like you and I who are having to deal with this dreadful disease. Now, I could tell you it's worth $1,000. You know what? It probably is, since it'll save you thousands on medical costs every year. My wife and I could get rich, maybe, if we charge that much for it. Big Pharma may be comfortable charging you thousands of dollars to put a Band-Aid on your diabetes, but I'm not that kind of person. I may be a chef, but I'm just a regular guy. I don't want to stiff you on this. I want you to feel like you're getting way more value than the little investment that you make. And so I think that $37 is a great price. So you get some serious savings and you help us spread this message even wider. You can start destroying your type 2 diabetes right now for only $37. Take a second and imagine what it'll be like to finally be able to throw away your diabetes medication and feel in control of your life again. It's time to be free of type 2 diabetes. Click the button below to add the type 2 diabetes destroyer to your cart right now. You'll see our secure checkout page where you're going to fill in your information to claim your copy of the system. Now, once you check out, you'll see the Instant Access download page. That's where you can download the Type 2 Diabetes Destroyer in a PDF version so you can read it on your computer, your tablet, or smartphone, or print it out and read it anywhere. That's also where you'll find the video guides included in the system. Let me show you what people I've already helped have had to say about Type 2 Diabetes Destroyer. Travis from Charlotte, North Carolina said, "My disease was getting worse and worse. My neuropathy was the worst part. I always had a painful tingling in my hands. It made everyday life so difficult. That's when I found the Type 2 Diabetes Destroyer. All of a sudden, my neuropathy disappeared. I went back to my doctor a few weeks later, and he was shocked at how healthy I was. I haven't needed my diabetes medication for months." Kelly from Sacramento, California said, "I was constantly worried about my blood sugar levels, and I always had to be careful what I ate. I felt trapped, and I felt like a burden on my family. But then I used the pancreas jumpstart technique to reverse my diabetes, and now my family can barely keep up with me. I'm eating my favorite foods and doing the things I love. Your program gave me my life back. Thank you for saving my life." And Sarah from Rochester, New York, who said, "I was testing my blood sugar 9 or 10 times every day. You know your diabetes is bad when you develop calluses too thick to draw blood through. I felt chained to my refrigerator where I kept my insulin. But since I've discovered your Type 2 Diabetes Destroyer, everything is better. In just 3 weeks, I was down to needing just 1 insulin shot per day. 6 weeks into the program, I used the last insulin shot I ever needed. Thank you for helping me feel free and happy again." Well, now that you've seen how it worked for them, I want you to see how it works for you. So here's a risk-free way for you to try out the Type 2 Diabetes Destroyer. I want you to download the system right now and start using it. If for some reason it doesn't work for you, even though it's worked for virtually every single person to follow the instructions and complete the program so far, or if you just decide that it's not for you, then I'm offering you a money-back guarantee. In fact, since I'm sending you the system through ClickBank, the nation's largest and most trusted information retailer, you get ClickBank's ironclad guarantee. If for any reason you're not satisfied with the Type 2 Diabetes Destroyer, just request a refund within 60 days and I'll refund your money 100%. That means that in 60 days, you'll have jump-started your pancreas and reversed the real cause and the painful symptoms of your Type 2 diabetes, or you'll get every single penny back. If you're ready to make the smartest decision of your life, just click the Add to Cart button right now. Now, before I sign off, I really want you to think for a moment about your future and about your family. What'll happen if you don't make any changes? What will happen if you let your diabetes destroy your life? Every day for the rest of your life, you'll have to go through the annoyance and pain of blood tests and insulin injections. You'll try medicine after medicine with no results except dangerous side effects like nausea, weight gain, and heart disease. Not to mention all the vacations, new cars, and other luxuries that you won't be able to afford because you're spending all your money on your diabetes medication. Until the day you die, you'll be a burden on your friends and family. But even that torture won't be enough to stop the slow decay of your body. Each day, you'll have less energy. Each month, your body will get worse and worse. How long until your foot won't stop tingling and then goes completely numb? How long until the doctor tells you they have to cut it off? How many amputations will you go through before diabetes leads you to an early death? Now, I'm sorry if this scares you, but sometimes I feel like I have to be direct. After all, this was the direction my life was heading until I discovered how to destroy my Type 2 diabetes. Listen up, this doesn't have to happen to you. You can destroy your Type 2 diabetes just like I did. You can start enjoying life again, even eating your favorite foods that used to make your blood sugar go haywire. You can live a happy, long life, having the energy you need to do the things that you love with the people you love. You can be free. All it takes is the pancreas jumpstart technique, which I'm sending you in your copy of Type 2 Diabetes Destroyer. Click the Add to Cart button below to start your new future today. In case you have questions, I've collected a couple of the most common ones here to answer. Does type 2 diabetes destroyer really work? Yes, like I said, virtually every single person who's completed the program has been able to reverse their diabetes. It jumpstarts your pancreas to start producing enough insulin again and retrains your body to absorb and use that insulin. Now, obviously, you just can't download the system and never use it. It works if you work it. That's why I've made it so simple to follow. How soon can I stop taking my medication? Remember, I recommend that you use the type 2 diabetes destroyer to naturally reverse your diabetes and then decide with your doctor when to go off your medication. Dr. Taylor's study showed that within 8 weeks, every participant had brought their blood sugar down to normal levels and reversed their disease. Around half reversed their disease at 4 weeks. The fastest recorded was 11 days. So, depending on factors like your genetics, the severity of your disease, and how committed you are to the program, most people will destroy their type 2 diabetes in between 2 and 6 weeks. Is it scientifically proven? Absolutely. The Diabetes Destroyer system is based on research at Newcastle University in England, Harvard University here in the US, and dozens of other studies. There have been studies all over the world showing that these principles can reverse your type 2 diabetes. How difficult is this program? The first step is the toughest, but like I said, if you can say no to donuts and pizza once in a while, you can handle this temporary meal plan. And it's obviously not too hard since people all over the world have successfully used these methods. Plus, once you finish the first step, the next two are practically effortless. And if for some reason it doesn't work for you, just let me know and I'll refund your money 100%. Now, let me share the easiest, most relaxing trick that I use to lower my blood sugar after I eat something sweet. Go for a short walk. Yeah, it's that easy. And who doesn't love getting outside for a few minutes? Researchers at the University of Washington found that even light exercise like walking after eating will lower your blood sugar for up to 24 hours. It's the perfect little boost to helping the type 2 diabetes destroyer make these next few weeks the most life-changing time that you've ever experienced. I mean that. Now that you know the truth, nothing can ever be the same again. It's time to be free from your disease. So now that I've shown you the proof that Diabetes Destroyer works, it's up to you to try it for yourself. Click the Add to Cart button to start destroying your type 2 diabetes right now.